So far, it seems like the development of Missing Link has been having some issues. I could make some predictions about the game itself, but I'm going to try to be positive in this video. Hopefully everything will work out. What's up everyone, I'm NanakiBH. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to share my story predictions for Missing Link, and I know you're excited. At the moment, we don't know very much about Missing Link, so some of these predictions might surprise you. I think that we've already been given enough clues throughout the rest of the series to begin putting the pieces together. Where better to start than with Brain, one of the most enigmatic ancient Keyblade wielders. One of the major questions that we were left with at the end of Union Cross was, what the heck happened with Brain? In one scene we seemingly see him carrying the no-name in the black box, but then in another scene we see him waking up in Missing Link's Skála Asylum, where he encountered Sigurd. A lot of people, including me, thought that Luxu had taken Brain's body, but realistically that doesn't make sense with what we know. In Luxu's secret reports from KH3, he wrote about how he'd bequeathed the no-name to one of the Union leaders amid the chaos of Daybreak Town's collapse. His orders from the mom were to train his own apprentice, and then that apprentice would pass the Keyblade on to their own apprentice, and so on and so forth. With those things in mind, even though many of us thought that the person holding the no-name in the Missing Link trailer might be Luxu, it seems like that should be impossible. By that point in time, he would have certainly chosen an apprentice and given them the no-name. The person in the trailer must either be Brain, or even one of Brain's own apprentices. That takes care of the scene where we see Brain carrying the Keyblade in the box. But what about the Brain who woke up in Skála? That's where time travel comes into play. Very simply, the Brain in the black coat could have given his hat to Sigurd, and then he went back in time to the collapse of Daybreak Town. Instead of going forward with the box, he entered one of the lifeboat pods instead. When one uses the pods to travel through time, their physical form is stripped away from their heart. In order for a person to be reassembled at their destination, they require two things: a physical object to serve as a waypoint, and a person waiting for them who has memories of them. If Sigurd had met Brain and had been given his hat, Brain would have had no trouble making the leap. Why did he do all that? Who knows? Moving along. My next prediction is, Brain is Luxord. Hear me out, because I swear to Bunavelza, this makes sense. I feel like this was foreshadowed by KH3 just as much as Demyx being the mom. First of all, we know that Luxord is supposed to be an ancient Keyblade wielder. Personally, I don't think of Missing Link as being ancient enough. Back cover is literally abbreviated as BC. If you're looking for an ancient wielder, I think you should consider looking there first. Setting Ava aside, there are only two other characters from the Age of Fairy Tales whose whereabouts are currently unaccounted for: Brain and the mom. I feel like Brain is implied to be the grandfather of Eraqus due to the family resemblance, but Eraqus' grandfather has been missing. It's the time travel. Luxord seemed to be awfully interested in finding the black box. It's like he wanted to find it before Xigbar could find it. If Brain were indeed the one who carried the box and hid it, that would explain why Xigbar had trouble finding it. The element of time travel could have further complicated the matter. I would try to explain this point further, but it makes my head hurt. There was a lot of suspicious tension between Luxord and Xigbar during their scene in Remind. This tension would make a lot of sense if the two had actually met before. When Xigbar finds out Luxord's true identity, it should ideally be someone he recognizes immediately. It's not Mom. I know that some of you have thought that. Luxord isn't Mom. Mom wouldn't act antagonistically toward Luxu. Like, he isn't the type of guy who would try to slit his throat with a card. Luxu is his special little guy. Brain, however. Brain proclaimed that he would become the virus in the Master's plan. Even if he became Luxu's apprentice, he is not on Luxu's side. There are some other little things, like the fact that Luxord joins Marluxia and Larxene during the fight in the Keyblade graveyard. Lauriam and Elrena, their human selves, were dandelions like Brain. Luxord's nobody minions, the gamblers, have cards with Marluxia and Larxene's faces on them. Demyx is conspicuously absent. He wasn't a part of that trio. It's as if the game is saying that there's something that unites those three and separates them from Demyx. I stopped in the middle of writing this script because I really fell into my own thoughts while thinking about my next prediction. This one is actually insanely interesting to me. I've already seen some people say they think that Demyx could be a drifter, and I agree, but not in the way that you might be thinking. I'll explain. Union Cross went out of its way to show us how Marluxia and Larxene got their flower and lightning powers. It seems like their powers were influenced by the environment they found themselves in after they traveled to the future. Marluxia awoke in a bed of flowers, and Larxene awoke in the middle of a thunderstorm. If Luxor did a lot of time traveling before he joined the organization, that might be why he has time as his attribute. The official description of drifters explains that drifters are those without memories who wash ashore on Scala Ad Caelum once in a blue moon. They are presumed to have arrived from another world by way of distortions. If Demyx's powers as a nobody were also influenced by his environment, it doesn't sound unrealistic to believe that he was found somewhere near water. I don't expect to see Demyx showing up during the story of Missing Link though, because how would he get to the future? Didn't think about that, did you? Yeah, so unless you believe that a time machine exists somewhere in Scala, it seems more likely that Demyx just isn't from the Missing Link era. But wait, I hear you think. Demyx is supposed to be an ancient wielder, so he can't be from the future. You're right. He is an ancient wielder, because he's Mom, and Mom became a drifter. That's the idea. Yeah, I'm really surprised by how much sense this makes. Here's what I think might have happened. Because the players shared their life story with Xehanort, Xemnas might have known about drifters. Xehanort knew that the player was an ancient wielder, so if Xemnas had been looking for ancient wielders to join the organization, the first place he might have thought to look was on the beach. Like the player, Demyx exhibits signs of amnesia. The player couldn't even remember their own name, so even if Demyx is the mom, there's a chance that he wasn't even able to tell Xemnas his name. Isn't it kind of scary how good this is? We can call this the mom drifter theory. Simple. Clean. I feel like Demyx being a drifter would be a pretty decent answer to the question that I posed with my last video. What happened to the mom and how did he end up as Demyx? Traveling through a distortion from Quadratum to the real world is one possible answer. It could even explain why he looks and sounds different. If someone goes through a distortion, maybe they become distorted as a result. My next prediction pertains to Sigurd. We found out his name following the first KH4 and Missing Link trailer, when Nomura was getting impatient that people weren't solving one of his riddles fast enough. Yeah, if you didn't hear about that, Sigurd's name was hidden in Nomura's message to attendees of the 20th anniversary event. Basically, what it told us is that Sigurd was the narrator of those trailers. I think that's the most interesting clue we have about him, but nobody really seems to talk about that. As far as I know, no one as of yet has figured out who Sigurd's voice actor is. All that Nomura told us was that the voice actor was told to use a different tone of voice for both trailers. In the Missing Link trailer, Sigurd sounds friendly. In the KH4 trailer, his voice sounds deeper. There's something darker about his tone. The things he's saying sound more ominous. To me, this indicates that something might have happened to Sigurd between Missing Link and KH4. I don't think that Sigurd is necessarily anyone we already know. My first thought is that he might get possessed by Luxu. We could have some time to get familiar with the original Sigurd, but then Luxu would steal his body. There's some similarities between Sigurd's name and Xigbar's name in Japanese. That seems to be a theme, like how the names Brage and Bragi have all the same letters. So that's one possibility, but I'm not even sure if Luxu is actually going to make an appearance in this version of Scala. I feel like this chapter in history might be in the Lost Master's blind spots. My next thought is that Sigurd could become possessed by one of the Ancient Darkness. We know that 7 of the Darkness were sealed in the Lost Master's hearts, 4 were trapped in the Data World, and 1 entered Ventus's heart and traveled with him to the future. 5 plus 7, okay, that's 12. 12 Darkness. What happened to the 13th? In the second Missing Link trailer, we hear a new character refer to the player as the Calamitous Star. Do you remember how the player had 2 Chirithes? One of them was the Dark Chirithy. See, when a Keyblade wielder's heart falls to darkness, their Chirithy turns into a Dark Chirithy. They shouldn't multiply. The matter of the player having 2 Chirithys is something that Union Cross never explained. It could be that the darkness had already hidden itself inside the player, so the second Chirithy may have come into existence because it was almost like the player had 2 hearts. The player's heart never actually fell to darkness, which is why their own Chirithy remained normal and never turned dark. In this way, the player could be called the Calamitous Star because they brought darkness with them to Skalad Kylum. If that's what happened, then the darkness might have left them and hid itself inside Sigurd. I guess that this prediction ended up being 2 predictions. My next prediction is that Skuld is one of the Skala founders, but she's also Subject X. Basically, after traveling to the future, Skuld ended up in Radiant Garden, where she was held captive in the castle basement. Then Luxu, as Breg, freed her, just like the secret reports suggested. Since we know that Apprentice Xehanort had his own version of the lifeboat machine, Luxu could have put her in one of the pods and sent her back in time. That's why Ansem couldn't find her in the present, and that's why Xehanort's mother resembles Skuld. There's a slight issue here, though. Lee and Isa are still looking for her. Are they going to meet her in Quadratum after she already got married, became a mom, and passed away? I feel like that would be a lot to take in. So it's possible that she didn't actually get sent back to the past yet. The Radiant Garden Castle also had access to the datascape, so that could be another place where Luxu might have hidden her. It makes my brain hurt, but I don't think that a time paradox would occur as long as Skuld goes back to the past at some point to have a child and complete the Xehanort family tree. Also, if you were wondering, I think that Ephemer must be the person she had a child with. Ephemer, you are the father. Well, I think that's about it for now. If you enjoyed my predictions, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. By all means, if you have your own predictions, leave them in the comments. I always look forward to reading what you guys think. I don't have a Patreon, but you can leave me tips on Ko-fi. You give me money, I give you more unhinged rambling about the Master of Masters. Alright then, until next time, may your heart be your guiding whatever.